But I am joined in studio today by friend of the show. You've been here, this is what, your second or third time?
This is my second
time. Charlotte Laws, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming in. Last time you were in, we were talking about the Bill Cosby case, amongst other things. You have done many things. Oh my gosh, your resume is very long. And we were talking about that, and we will talk about that as well, because that's definitely that is like the news that keeps on giving. It's constantly, there's something new all the time with that case.
That's true.
It's been going, and nothing has happened really. I mean,
that's true. Also,
it's just a lot
more women coming out.
Oh my God.
Out of the woodwork.
Jeez, there's a whole industry on that now, I'm sure. But now you wrote an article that caught my eye, because as people who listen to the show regularly know that I have been talking about the election. I have been just, making all kinds of comments and just armchair, criticisms of what is happening, because it's so easy to. It is so frustrating that it's so far out. I mean, you don't realize we are more than a year away. More than a year away. Think about that. That's just like, let's talk about what we're going to have next Christmas, even before this Christmas comes. It's just like stupid. But that's the way we do it. I mean, it's the system. Of course, this election, a little different than other elections. It's every year it changes, or every election it changes, because technology changes, and social media changes, and it ups the ante a little bit. It makes it a little bit, just a little bit more. Everything is here, ready to go, in your face kind of a thing. So that's what's going on. But Donald Trump is really been taking the headlines.
That's true.
And I have been saying for the last couple of weeks and talking about, hello, Miss Kimmy.
Hello. Happy Sunday.
Sunday. Don't get me started. Talking about Donald Trump, and that, is he a candidate? Is he a real candidate? I mean, just as the reporters and the press were speaking about him and just how serious a candidate he was, we just kept seeing his numbers increase, and his visibility, he was already very visible, increase. And Kim, you know that I have said on many occasions that there are closet Trump supporters out there.
Yeah.
There are people that don't want to admit they're his supporters because of just the stigma that comes along with it.
But what I want to know is, you were saying, is he a candidate? Is he a real candidate?
Right.
What are the issues besides him being outspoken and saying what people say they are thinking? Anyway, he's just able to be their mouthpiece. What are the actual issues they're supporting him on?
Well, that's coming out. I mean, as you hear him speak, and as he's releasing, he released his immigration papers on what he would do regarding immigration and building the wall, in
negotiating with other nations.
Yeah, negotiating with other nations, adding remittance fees for all the money that's going out. Do you know how much money goes into Mexico that people earning here send back?
Absolutely.
It's a tremendous amount.
But for media purposes, it makes sense not to roll out your entire, all of your proposals at the same time. You want to bring out one thing and then another.
Right.
That way you keep getting coverage.
But what I'm asking is, what would make a Trump supporter want to support him before that fact?
I think. Go ahead, Charlotte.
Well, I mean, I'm a closet Trump supporter.
Not now, honey.
I'm out.
You are out.
I think that a lot of his supporters are that 42% who self-identify as independents. I think there are a lot of people who are very fed up with the two-party system, and I know myself, for decades, I've been wanting a revolution against the two parties. And I feel that Donald Trump on the right and Bernie Sanders on the left are alternatives, are these independent candidates. I know Trump is running as a Republican and Sanders is running as a Democrat, but they're really both independents in my view.
So they're like the dark horse.
And they speak to us, to people who have always wanted to fight against that power, against the elites, against the establishment, against those snobby two parties and all those pundits out there that try to tell us who to vote for every single election. So it's kind of this fear that they try to scare you into voting for their candidate. You can't, write in a candidate or vote for somebody who's an independent or a libertarian because it's all about the two parties. And so that's what upsets a lot of us. And also, I like the fact that Trump is willing to try to bring riches to U.S. and try to, negotiate. I've never even heard a politician talk about being a better negotiator. And when I read some of these articles about Trump, like in the 1990s, some of his friends were saying, why aren't you working for the government and negotiating with other countries? You're so good at this. I mean, there are articles out there that you'll find. I was reading one in Vanity Fair yesterday about, about people in the 80s saying you should be working for the Reagan administration and being their top negotiator because this is your talent. This is what you're so good at.
So Charlotte, what if he said, oh, your daughter's got a really nice figure, I'd like to date her?
Well, I mean, the thing about Trump, why would that deter me? Is that what you're asking me?
I'm just saying, I'm a big proponent of how you do anything is how you do everything. That's what I believe about life, and that's just one of my outlooks. I just don't, with you being the big supporter of women's rights, and that you are, and a voice for women who have been abused in some way. I know he's been quoted as saying some weird things like, "Oh, my daughter's got a nice figure. I think I might like to date her."
Well, he didn't say that. He said if I wasn't her dad, maybe I'd be dating her. But
this is really not much different.
Well,
and a woman belongs on her knees, and that kind of thing.
No. If you I went back and watched that episode of The Apprentice.
What did he say?
And he thought it would be interesting to see somebody begging. If Bret Michaels had said it, he would have said, interesting to see you on your knees. It was a TV show.
Okay.
You got to understand, reality TV is very scripted.
I do understand that.
And if Ronald Reagan, back when he was an actor, had beaten his wife, you wouldn't be asking him now, well, you beat your wife in that movie, so you must be a wife beater. So I don't think it's fair. And I think that Trump is a kind of person, I don't think he has been sexist so far. I've seen no sexism.
Thank you for clarifying that. But I still stand by the statement that the previous statement that I quoted from him. Yeah, okay. So he said, if I weren't her dad, that's still.
Wait, I have to admit, I'll just disclose this, that I found my birth father when I was in my late 20s. Mm-hmm. And when all the professors were coming out of this, and I didn't know what he looked like at all, right? All these professors, like 100 guys, are pouring out of this meeting, and I'm sitting there waiting and going, oh my God, where's my dad? Who's my dad? And I see this man coming, and I say, oh my God, what a hunk. I would go out with him if he weren't, it turned out he was my dad. That is who I thought was good looking. My mom, I think, is gorgeous.
Okay.
But I had the same thought. I can understand how you would feel that way.
That's a strained example. He's seen his daughter for how many millions
Yeah, but you know what? So you would never see. But all that is that he's a proud dad. He thinks he's got a hot girl, a hot daughter.
He does. She's extremely attractive girl.
I find no offense at all on that. I think people look for something that will be, that they can just, glean onto and say, oh, well, see, he said this.
No. I'm not that way at all. As a matter of fact, I like Donald Trump, and I've said that to you on many occasions.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, as a women's advocate, how do you feel about what he said?
He's an equal opportunity critic. He attacks men. He attacks women. To me, putting women on a pedestal and saying, oh no, I can only attack men, that would be sexist only to attack men. Women are supposed to be treated equal. That means that sometimes you're going to get mud on your face, as I believe I said in my article. So, I don't see that that's a problem. And then people will say, oh, well, he has attacked a woman's appearance.
Well, yeah, but let's look at Ruth. I was just going to say.
But everybody attacks his hair.
I didn't think that was really cool.
Yeah, but let's all look at Rosie. Let's all look at her.
It's not fair. It's not fair. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
But you have seen over the years the way Rosie has acted. Rosie is not,
That's a different issue.
Okay, but I'm just saying.
He supposedly started the attacks against his family.
And I can believe that.
And so why is it acceptable to attack his hair, but not acceptable to attack Rosie O'Donnell's appearance? Or why is it acceptable to attack Chris Christie's weight, but not acceptable?
I never said that.
Well, that's what some people will say. I'm just saying that that's the argument. Mm-hmm. And I haven't seen him be sexist or racist. In fact, it was interesting in that same Vanity Fair article that I was reading yesterday and written in 1990, he had been asked sometime in the 80s or 70s to join a country club. And he said no, because they don't allow black or Jewish members. So therefore, I don't want to join. So this was a guy who is notoriously not racist, not prejudiced.
Well, and he's also, they jumped on him for, well, you're really a Democrat because you've donated to the Democrats, and you're not really, you're just a Republican in name, and all that. But the fact is, any smart business person doing business in New York is going to donate to everybody. Okay, it doesn't matter what you are, whether you're Democrat or Republican, you're going to donate to them because you want to do business, you want to have their ear, and it's right. When he said, he donated to Hillary Clinton, yeah, he donated to her. What did that get him? She came to his wedding. He called her up, and she came to his wedding. You know what? I can identify with that. I know what it's like to be involved with a politician, to be able to say, yes, because you know what? Then they came to my party. They came to my event
it's
because
I
donated to. Exactly. It's all about access, and he has that access.
I'm just being a good journalist.
Well, no, absolutely, no, absolutely. Well, was the guy from Univision, or what was it? Was Univision?
Jorge Ramos.
Jorge Ramos.
And that was, I'm just absolutely shocked that he would even get the media on his side, because the way he behaved was deplorable.
No, exactly.
He was an activist. He went in there basically
lecturing.
He
was an activist, not a journalist.
Making a commotion. And I say to myself, because I'm an animal rights advocate, for example, what if I had gone in there, but I also write articles, I play reporter and op-ed person and this and that. What if I had gone into any politician's press conference and started preaching about animal rights? Look at all the animals that are killed based on your policies, and what do you want to do? And there are billions dying and suffering. Do you think I would have been kicked out of the press conference? I think I would have. I don't think I would have been allowed back in to sit there and have a 10-minute conversation with the candidate. I was really shocked that Donald Trump was so nice to him and so generous with his time.
Well, and just a couple weeks before, the Black Lives Matter, got into Bernie Sanders' face at an event and shut it down.
And took over the entire mic, which was shocking.
At some point,
So Charlotte, let me ask you this. Why have you been a closet Trump supporter? I know it's because of the stigma, but let's get to the crux of it. What are you afraid of?
Yeah, what's the stigma?
The stigma is that you're called racist, sexist, stupid, insane. You're called every name in the book. And I know. Well, that's why I'm out of the closet now. I mean, no one else is, as far as I can tell. There's hardly anyone who's come out in support of him. So, yeah, I mean, that's why I'm out. But, yeah, you have to get up your courage, especially when you live in Los Angeles and a lot of people on social media are your liberal friends on social media. I'm not a Republican, by the way. I am a full-fledged independent. I will vote the candidate. I don't care what party.
And your mom and dad are Democrats, and or your mom and your stepdad are Democrats. And they came out and said, no, they're supporting him.
Exactly.
When I was watching C-SPAN, and they had the call-ins, and they had the different numbers for Republicans, Independents, and Democrats, and the Democrats and Independents were calling in, and all the Democrats were saying, I support Trump. So it's crossing party lines.
Exactly, and I think he's the strongest candidate for the general election.
People, they're looking for something different. They're looking for a breath of fresh air, not the same politics as usual. And, if you got to shake it up, you got to shake it up.
Well, and he certainly has a lot of breath.
And he has
a lot of hot air.
And his person, I think the reason he doesn't go down in the polls based on the comments he makes is because that's his personality.
Right, and people expect it.
And he can say loser to you one day and the next day say, oh, she's really great, I like her. You don't really take it seriously. It's almost like he's almost like a comedian, like a Sarah Silverman or a Colin Quinn or something, where they just make comments, but it's not taken seriously.
Well, it's also the stereotypical New Yorker attitude, with the accent and the whole, oh yeah, he's a loser.
Right.
He's a loser, he's a schmuck, but he wears a nice suit and I'll have breakfast with him tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the illegal immigration thing is, I mean, I know we were talking about that earlier. I personally support more of the self-deportation proposals of the past. But, I think that's a serious problem, and it's a very serious problem in California and in Los Angeles.
Yep. Somebody else had said, maybe it's time for a moratorium across the board. No more immigration. No more people coming in. Close the borders. Let's get this straightened out until we resolve it. And unfortunately, it's gotten to this position because of past leadership and their inability to do anything, and are tying our law enforcement people
or being unwilling.
I think both. I think think both. I think we tie the hands of our officials that are out there on the front lines, like the police, who could be saying, "Let me see your papers, let me see your thing," and then instead they choose not to because they're told not to. We're suddenly what is the word? Sanctuary city?
Yeah.
What the hell is a sanctuary city?
I would cut off funding to sanctuary cities
but
if
I
were
think
in Washington.
I think if you do that, Frank, though, you have to also put in place controls and you have to have what do I want to call it? What's the word I'm trying to say?
Checks and balances.
You have to put checks and balances in place to make sure that the corrupt nature of these officials or police officers is, there has to be some kind of deterrent. There has to be some kind of deterrent, because who's gonna turn down, I don't know, somebody shoving $100 bills at them if they want to get across the border? There's got to be, and I don't know. I don't have the answer. I don't know what they would do.
I think that it's PC now to not be PC. I think we have, people are tired of, just not saying what they want to say.
They
are. I mean, when you
am I going to offend somebody if I say Christmas and there's a Jewish person in the room?
Well,
whatever.
Come on. Anchor Baby, really? Anchor Baby? What is wrong with Anchor Baby? Anchor Baby is exactly what it is.
I agree.
Okay, you're looking at me with a
I'm not
look.
familiar with Anchor Baby. I'm so sorry.
Apparently, there's a lot of
people who think it's offensive.
Yeah, and the Anchor Baby means that the people come to the United States to have their baby, because if you have your baby in the United States, even if you're not a citizen, your baby immediately becomes a citizen.
Right.
And so therefore, that becomes the anchor of
under the 14th
everybody
Amendment,
else into you, because you're not now going to leave your baby. You've got to obviously take care of your baby, who now is a citizen. So it just is a whole. It
Why
opens
is that
the whole
offensive?
door. They thought that it was racist, but again, it's not like it's saying a Mexican baby or a black baby.
It could be
or
a Cambodian baby.
Well, and traditionally, this has gone to the Asians, and there was a whole big, hoopla and articles about the Asians and the Chinese, Japanese coming over, staying here the last month of their pregnancy in a hotel so that they could have their baby.
Well,
there's a whole industry for tourism for anchor babies.
So it's not right to say the word anchor baby. That's like
It's not politically correct.
And both Trump and Bush said there's nothing wrong with Anchor Baby.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I was in Best Buy. I was in Best Buy once. Hold that thought, Charlotte. I was in Best Buy once in the Midwest, and I wanted to buy a stereo, and I said, "Excuse me, sir, I just come in the door, and I said to this Caucasian employee, "Excuse me, sir, could you point me in the direction of the stereos?" He said, "They're over there by that guy in the blue shirt." Okay, there was a black guy standing over there, and there was a white guy standing over there. And I said, "Okay, this is Best Buy, sir. Everybody's got on a blue shirt. Which guy?" Then I started to play a game with him because I wanted to see if he was going to say it. I said, "So which guy do you mean?" "Oh, the one in the glasses." And I look over, and both of them are wearing glasses. I said, "Okay, are you not wanting to say the word black? You mean over by the black guy? Is that like saying MF or the F-bomb? What?"
Or what if he said over by the white guy?
Exactly. He didn't want to say either. He was so freaking scared. And when I just fronted him and said, "Do you not want to say black?" he was like, blah, 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 blah.
That's funny.
So I went and found the stereos on my own.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I just had to do that rant.
Well, I think that we should test the 14th Amendment because it's not completely clear that birthright applies. And if it does apply, if it is true based on a court, based on a judge saying that these kids are birthright citizens, I think we should make a change to the 14th Amendment. There are only 30 countries that have automatic birthright citizenship out of 196 in the world. In fact, the countries that have eliminated it in recent years are Australia, New Zealand, UK, France. I mean, really, it's only North and South America that have it. And we already have 1 million legal immigrants coming into this country every year, which is actually more than any other country. So we're very generous on that. We could even up those numbers, but we really need to get the illegal illegal immigration under control, and I don't think people should just have automatic birthright when they come to the country. And it doesn't even make sense why anyone would care about it, because I put myself in the position of someone who might, be thinking about this. So, for example, I go to France. Let's just assume France had birthright, which they don't. But say I'm visiting France, I'm with my husband, and there's a mistake. I have my baby a month early, and my baby is born there. I'm not going to be arguing with France about birthright. Oh, you have to make my child a citizen. I wouldn't care. My kid's going back to America with me. I want to live in America. That's where my kid and I belong.
Yeah.
So if you're arguing with the country, or you're pushing for that, it seems like it is part of a scam. You have this intention, because otherwise, why would you even care if it was a mistake?
That's what takes the precedence in a lot of courts, is they get down to what is really the intent here. What is really the intent? Is it the intent to gain citizenship? Is it the intent to commit first-degree murder? Was it premeditated? Was it not? How many days did you think about it? How many people did you tell?
It has to be the intent, though, because otherwise the people from other countries who wouldn't care, they'd say, fine, get rid of birthright. We don't care, because we're not using that. We're not
right. And if you want to become a citizen, there are methods to do that. You have
absolutely.
We have systems in place, and you can do that. But it's not like, oh no, there's no way you can ever become a. No, you can. You just need to go through A, B, C, and D.
They don't want to go through the proper channels. No. I, for one, have been a victim of illegal immigration. I was hit head on. My head went through the windshield of a car with my seatbelt on, hit by a driver that had come here from Mexico, a female driver that didn't know what she was doing, did not have a driver's license, had just moved here, had no insurance, and come to find out through the research of my attorney that she had gotten her car on the Mexican black market that was doing work here in the U.S. The guy that owned the car owned 13 other cars, and that's what he was doing. He was getting cars for his illegal immigrant friends. I get it, so you can get back and forth to work, so you can pick up your kids, but you're right, there are channels, and it makes all of us suffer when you aren't doing the right thing, because accidents do happen, things do happen.
Oh, well, that's with everybody, though. It's not just with
and insurance companies have to. My insurance company had to pay. Since no insurance, no license, and you have just destroyed and totaled my car. Because you ran a light.
But I think cutting off the services, the benefits, the programs, all of that is really the way to handle the situation.
Really?
The self-deportation idea. Yeah, I really do, because I don't think people are going to come here. And the only thing I would allow is emergency room medical. I wouldn't even do education for kids who are illegal.
But
I wouldn't do any of that.
Look at the numbers of the illegal immigrants that are here. This is one reason why our medical care system has been suffering already, is because people go to the emergency room, they don't have room to pay the bill. How much is a towel at the emergency room? Allah, you get charged $13 for. That's the problem now. I don't think cutting off the benefits and the health care is going to help. We have problems of our own, and we live here legally with getting health care. So they're just going to go to the back alley places and the places where they can get some kind of health care treatment or get treated for whatever they're going in for. I don't think that's going to stop it. I don't think that's going to curtail it.
I do. I think they're not going to come if they know their kids are not going to be educated. They're not going to get welfare, food stamps, whatever it may be, because it's a very high percentage. I think it's illegal immigrants here with kids. 71% of them are getting some kind of funds from the taxpayer.
Someone said to me, and I don't know if you've done any research on this, Charlotte, someone said to me that the highest percentage in Los Angeles of illegal immigrants on welfare are Armenians.
I have no idea, because the only statistic I know is a national statistic on that, so I don't know about LA specifically. I do know prisons, we have a very high number of illegals in prisons in comparison to other states. I think it's 25% of the illegals in prison are in California, and we have huge burdens in California based on, you spend $50,000 per year per prison inmate just to have them in jail.
So what is that? Latino, Sudanese, what nationality mostly?
I think it's primarily people from Mexico, but there are some other, it's a very high percentage. I believe it was like 85% or something is what I saw from Mexico, but there are, some from Central America, and you add those up, it's probably 10 or 15% from, Central America, and then a few Asians and a few other countries.
So this is why Donald Trump said the Latinos don't do anything but commit crimes and murder people.
He doesn't talk in the most precise way, I will agree. But, it's interesting because I don't necessarily support the whole wall thing 100%, but I think the argument could be made that, and this is not something I've heard anybody talk about, some people will say, most of the people who come here illegally do it through visa. But when you're getting a visa, the people tend to be more educated, they tend to have money.
They tend to have a job set up.
And you can't have committed crimes. You can't get a visa. So the people who are coming over the border, like running over the border or driving over the border, are probably people who couldn't get a visa. Maybe they have crimes, And then I also read on the internet, I was reading about how certain agencies within the Mexican government are advising people on how to get to America in order to come illegally in, what path to take, etc. So that would play
so
that would play to Trump's argument about how the Mexican government is aiding and abetting these individuals in getting into the country. That's, I had never seen evidence for that before, but I was able to find some articles online that did talk about that.
I'm a conspiracy theorist. I would believe that, the government's probably in cahoots with some of that.
Right.
Well, I saw that he had a meeting the other day with Sarah Palin, an interview with her, and I think you have to be careful about the people whose company you keep, as we have seen.
Do you know what happened in that interview?
It was terrible. I watched it. I can't even believe he's even talking to her. I mean, it's like embarrassing to me.
Maybe he was trying to give her some brownie points.
But it was the most ridiculous interview because nothing was said. She was gushing over him. She was gushing over him, and it was stupid. It was a waste of time watching it.
Donald Trump also has a gift of being able to say a lot and say nothing. I've read a couple of his books. And you ask him a question, it's like, oh yeah, I really, really like that. And he will never, sometimes, never really answer the question. That makes a good politician, though, right?
Well, no, it doesn't. Yeah, that's supposedly, Well, I said my favorite thing about the politician is that the scene from Best Little Whorehouse in Texas where the governor's asking a question and he does that whole musical number. I do the sidestep.
Yep.
You ask me this, I answer that. They just never
ask you where you're going. They'll tell you where they've been.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's that he just doesn't want to offend or doesn't want to alienate certain voters in the Republican Party, and I think that's why he answers things in a very, what's your favorite Bible verse? He probably doesn't have one, because
right.
But secondly, he doesn't want to alienate people. He wants to pretend like he wants to get as many votes as he can.
And what kind of stupid question was that to ask the candidates? Has God ever spoken to you? And if he has, what did he say? Really? Okay, why don't you just have them admit that they are psychotic and that they hear voices in their head?
God told me that you were going to ask me that question.
And he said not to answer. He said, don't fall into that trap. I mean, honestly, you look and you just wonder, really, is that, and then you wonder how what's going through the candidate's mind. First of all, I don't think they know what the questions are when they're coming. But to get a question like that, you got to, because, again, it's like a minefield. It's depending upon how you answer. You certainly don't want to alienate all those religious people, but at the same time, you don't want to open the door to people thinking that you're some, religious zealot.
I don't think it was designed as a minefield. I can think of another word that begins with F that it probably is more descriptive.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
but
I don't either.
Oh, well. Tell us later.
Yeah. I don't want to say it on the air. Even though we could, though we're irreverent.
We are
here at LA Talk Radio.
Irreverent here. And that, of course, comes from our sponsors. We want to give a shout out to our wonderful sponsors, of course. TLC, the Medical Marijuana Collective, downtown LA, pre-ICO, Prop D compliant. Get your prescription and check it out over there. And, of course, the Candy Factory, North Hollywood, California. candy maker to the stars, anything you need in chocolate, they have it for you. And the El Portal Theater in beautiful downtown NoHo, the NoHo Arts District. Been around forever. Wonderful, wonderful plays and musicals and all kinds of things happening. Check out the El Portal and the Thalians, Thalians.org. They are associated with UCLA and Operation Mend, helping the wounded warriors coming back not only for body but mind, which is so important. And so there.
So I have a question for you, Charlotte. The first time you came in, and welcome back to the show, by the way.
Thank you.
You had written an article about a friend of yours who had mentioned to you that Bill Cosby had raped her under the influence. Now you've written this article that's getting a lot of attention about being a Donald Trump supporter, and out of the closet, being out of the closet, and some people still being in the closet as a supporter. What's next for you? Where do you really want to go? Do you enjoy writing? Do you want to? You're very bright, obviously. You do your research. You do your due diligence. Where is it that Charlotte's life wants to go next? What are you interested in?
I'd like to be a regular on a television show. I'd like to be one of the pundits on cable news, I guess, if I had my absolute dream.
I can see that.
And write books and write articles and just try to get interesting ideas out there and try to promote causes and make the world a better place.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy doing.
Who's someone that's already doing that you idolize and that you not maybe emulate but enjoy watching?
I don't know who I enjoy watching, but I mean, I look at somebody like at least 10 years ago, Arianna Huffington's career, where she writes articles, she writes books, and then she would go on lots of talk shows and speak about various issues. I see that as the kind of path that I would like to take, I suppose.
Very interesting.
But it's not easy to get paid as a pundit on, you have to be a Fox News contributor, and you have to, most of the time when you do these television shows, and I've been on Fox and CNN and MSNBC, but I've never been paid for it. I think it's hard to get a paid gig. And so, I mean, I'd love to be on The View. I don't mind so much. It's just I prefer hard news. I would rather I don't want to talk about makeup or dating or that kind of thing. Yeah, fluff. Yeah.